Welcome to this week's Rob's Country. We're going to be looking at getting a bit of inside information on how to deal with people who are buying from China, or you're selling to China. We're also going to be catching up with a mid-Canterbury dairy farmer and a bit of the latest on tanks. But in the meantime, inland revenue, debt, they're owed a bit.
Yes, it's come out this week that they're owed a record $9.3 billion by taxpayers.
That'll sharpen their appetite.
Yeah, the worrying thing is that of that 9.3 billion, 425,000 people actually owe 6.2 billion. So they are a fair chunk of money to IRD, and that's effectively a quarter of our workforce of New Zealand.
So
owe 6.2 billion.
With all due respect, the IRD is very fine-tuned as a machine. So how did they let that happen? How did it happen?
They've basically in the last couple of years been looking at anything that's been under 2 years or less is what they've been chasing proactively. Anything over that, and they've sort of just been stagnating almost. Because it's harder to get, whereas under 2 years you have to hope for the business or the taxpayer still got money coming in, and so they can get that back easily. So
obviously if you are in a situation where you or your trust or your company owes the money, there's a few add-ons.
Yep. They'll charge you penalties and interest, but IRD had lately been taking the attitude where they'll send you a letter saying, look, if this is the first time you owed us, we're not going to put penalties on, talk to us, we may charge you interest or we may even write it off. So they've been a bit lenient lately, and I think this is a deliberate ploy to try and keep that figure down.
You've said on so many occasions, talk to them.
Yes, they're not big and scary. I went and seen someone today.
Seem to be.
Yeah, and she said, oh, I got a letter from them and they said I owe money, I'm so scared they're going to come take everything. I said, well, no, just ring them up and say, look, I couldn't afford to pay it. Can I pay it off in instalments, or, if need be, go apply for a write-off? There are options there, and they're open. If you're talking to them, then that's what they want.
And you can talk to them through accountants without there being any problem?
Yeah, I'd recommend going through your accountant because then they can talk the language that will get you the results you need. Sometimes if you ring up as a taxpayer, you can tell them more than they need to know, and you could expose yourself in other areas. So your accountant should be your first stop if you're struggling to pay. And
the other serious thing, I guess, is that we as lay people pick up the phone and dial. We have no idea who we're talking to, whereas you go to the right and appropriate
Yeah, well,
person.
we've got our own dedicated tax agent service that we can ring up. We can then get the name of the person and we keep records of what date and time, etc. we talk to them, whereas a normal person will just ring up. They'll talk to someone randomly on the call centre desk who may or may not know the tax law for a start, and they'll just sort of say, well, you owe this, that's that sort of thing. Whereas
you've convinced me, go through an accountant.
Yeah, you've got to go through the accountant to get the best result.
Well, no, either way, I mean, so you're representing, so that, and it takes all the stress out of the person's life. They tick the box and say that's done.
Yeah, so you'll talk to your accountant, sort of, they'll sit down and say, well, what's the situation, what can you afford, what time frame can we do it over, and then we put that to IRD, and 9 times out of 10 they'll accept it.
Brilliant. Indian tax.
Yeah, I've just come back from a week over there doing some business, and I've come back with the question, is it corruption or is it the norm? Yes, over there, IRD, effectively, their IRD write to you and say, look, we're going to investigate your affairs. They don't sort of take as much out of it as what we do. They've got 2 courses of action. They either ring their accountant, and then the accountant rings the lawyer and says, right, we're going to fight this case, or they'll go down to the shops and get a sweet box and then call into the bank on the way back, fill out with money and leave it on the doorstep late at night. 2 days later, they get a letter in the mail saying, your case has now been resolved, thank you.
You're right, there was a big question.
Yeah.
So in the middle of, hey, so there's a certain amount of people who'll be going around the tax department's door at about 2 or 3 in the morning picking up
apparently it
boxes.
never goes missing. So must have a system in place. And I talked to 3 or 4 different accountants, and they all confirm this is what they do. They get a letter on their desk, they'll talk to the client and say, right, do you want to spend years before the courts, or do you want to pop down the shops and the bank and come back to me and we'll look after it for you?
So there's honour amongst thieves.
Yeah, and when I sort of said, well, we don't do that here, if we get a letter, our approach is we work with the IRD, we try and resolve it. They were very, very surprised they would even try it. As far as they're concerned, that is the route you don't go down. It's not even thought of. You either get the lawyer or you go and do the money. And if it's not enough, you will get a letter back saying, we've looked at it, we want to investigate further, which is an indication that, hang on,
wasn't enough.
You didn't give us enough, go and give another go.
The wasn't big enough,
yeah. And so you'll go and put more on the doorstep, and then you'll get the right letter that you want. And so they don't look at anything, they just look at what you're handed over. Yeah, it floored me. When one accountant told me, I said, oh, no, this can't be right. And then I met another person another day and I said, look, this is what I've been told. He said, yes, this is how we operate our tax audits.
I don't think it's going to be big in here.
No, it definitely won't take off here.
Let's talk about the government books.
Yeah, we've had it come out this week that the government probably won't make surplus, or they may struggle to even get close. The last quarter, they were 260 million less than they thought they would be in terms of deficit. So things are going backwards for them. The GST take was down 200 odd million for the year, or the quarter. The PAYE, which is your wages for employees, are down 75 million, which indicates no one's getting a pay rise when they anticipated wages would be going up. And unfortunately for the government, that's not going to be recoverable. That's gone in the past. If they haven't got a pay rise in their last quarter, then they're unlikely to get one in this one, especially with Christmas very close to us. So they've got a bit of a issue ahead of them. And then of course with the dairy payout coming down and low inflation, it's all starting to snowball. And we got through the global financial crisis, but now we've had another sort of a storm.
jitterbug.
Yeah.
Very briefly, with the lower rates for the payout, and it's not finished yet, we don't think, people provisional tax?
Yeah, you've got to be in there talking to your accountant if you haven't done already, and you've got to be starting to estimate exactly what you think your profits will be for the year, and working to reduce what you're obliged to pay. The legislation will say, right, last year you made record profits, you've got to pay record levels of tax. Now you've got to go over to the IRD and say, look, formally I want to put an estimate in. Normally we don't do a formal one, because if you get it wrong, you pay interest and penalties. But with it going so down so far, you've got to put these estimates in and take the risk.
And my gut feeling, Kerry, is you don't work on 470.
No, I talked to a farm advisor today and he's starting at $4 and he's been optimistic about his payout at that level.
Which is really scary, but you've got to work within it. We work within the high dollar for how long?
Exactly, yeah. So if you should be pessimistic when it comes to estimating your profit, so that you can get that estimate pretty much right.
Indeed, thank you very much indeed. We've got more for you on Rob's Country after the break, including talking to a mid-Canterbury farmer, and Dennis is here to talk about cropping.
Jumpstart your career in the primary industries at Aoraki Polytechnic. Qualify with a New Zealand Diploma in Agribusiness Management. Study on your farm, for your farm on a project-based method. Aoraki also offers Level 2 and 3 Agriculture, Level 3 Horticulture and Epiculture for those interested in the beekeeping industry. So enrol today and get hands-on experience at Aoraki.
If you're looking for a real estate agent that is willing to go the extra mile to give you complete peace of mind, then look no further. Karen and Barry Ellis from Harcourt's Twist Care Realty are here to work for you. They believe in their brand and actively work to get you the best possible result. From start to finish, Karen and Barry Ellis will take the stress and hassle out of buying or selling. Karen and Barry Ellis, licensed agent REAA 2008.
I'm selling my home with Gavin Top of Harvey's because I know he'll get me the best possible price. Gavin even guarantees it. His buyer's price declaration guarantee gives me confidence knowing I'll get the best possible price for my house. I know I can trust him because he listens to what I want to achieve and goes the extra mile to get great results. If you want to get Gavin's highest possible price guarantee like I am, give him a call or take a look at his website and he'll get you sold.
Espresso Car Wash. Bring back the shine with options from an express wash for just $28 up to a fully detailed interior and exterior grooming package from just $63. We also offer services such as interior shampoo, wax and polish, aircon treatment, odor eliminator, vehicle de-stickering, the list goes on. And don't forget our gift vouchers, no matter what the occasion. Espresso Car Wash at 5 great Christchurch locations: Corner Lincoln Road and Morehouse Ave, The Palms, Northlands, Ferrymead and the Hub Hornby.
When we were kids, saving the world seemed like the easiest thing you could do. But the world has changed, and the problems are bigger than we'd ever imagined. People are starving, the environment is under pressure, the climate is changing fast, and we are running out of fresh water. There's so much distraction, it can get hard to see where you can make a difference. With so many other things going on, where do you start? Well, feeding the world gets a little easier when you start by planting the right seed. Protecting the future is possible when you know how and have help. And if we work together to tackle the big challenges, everyone can live well. At Lincoln, we're on a mission to feed the world, protect the future, and help everyone live well. So don't settle for just any future. Join us and make a difference.
Whatever the adventure, Abbey Road is Kaikoura's streetwear specialist. With a wide range of clothing for any weather and any condition, including possum merino, Abbey Road has you covered. Abbey Road Kaikoura.
Welcome back to Rob's Country. I want to talk about lawns.
Yes, Rob, this time of the year, farmers, amongst others, townsfolk, white clover in their lawns, bees, bee stings, young children, not good.
Only
Honeyhanger-weed, prickles, all of those sorts of things. So farmers like townsfolk reach for the cans and get out with some pretty heavy artillery spray. And some of these sprays are finding their ways into their wife's garden, into their trees that are 70 years old.
At their peril, but yes.
At their peril, and everybody loves a beautiful looking lawn. And things like chlorpyrrolid, which is better known as Versatile, they put those clippings out into the rubbish. They go into the compost supply and kill people's tomato plants and grapevines and everything else they buy that compost
so it
for.
stays in there for a bit.
Stays in there for a long time, and those lawn clippings really need to be discarded, not into the rubbish, green rubbish at the gate, somewhere else, buried preferably, for a long time where plants aren't going to grow, because the compost has been contaminated in the past and there were some big legal claims against it. So that's chlorpyrrolid. Some of the other heavy artillery ones are picloram, which is in Tordon brush killer, and triclopyr, which is better known as Grazon. Now these are registered for lawns. They're very heavy artillery. They do seep into the ground and they get through the roots of roses and trees and things like that. And I know people have been preparing for a home wedding and the guests have turned up and the 70-year-old trees are dead or wilting. Imagine that scenario.
Yes, we won't discuss what was said by the mother of the bride.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Changing the subject to barley.
Yes, things are happening with barley at the moment. It's growing very, very quickly, and it's time to use those plant growth regulators to control the straw strength and to stop neck break. So if you use things like Turpel, if you're using that relatively early, just before the paintbrush stage comes out the top of the hair, it will stiffen the straw. If you use it a little bit later or at the exact right time as the artist paintbrush stage, it will stop that neck break. And of course, we want some nor'westers during the harvest period. And if you've got ripe barley that's subject to these nor'westers, you can lose quite a bit of your crop on the ground. Yep.
What's disease pressure like?
Not very high, which is great. You know, there's not many years that we're not pressurised by rust or all sorts of other things that occur. But basically, it's been too cold. And I mean too cold at night and possibly too cold at day, because during the day, because the rust loves average temperatures of around 13 degrees C. Well, we haven't had average degrees around 13 degrees C, so the rust pressure is relatively low, along with some other diseases, although early in the winter, septoria was quite a bit of pressure on the wheat, but that was through probably the wet late autumn.
And
really.
that's that splashing.
Splashing, spread by rain splash. But apart from that, we've had a fairly good run with the disease pressure on cereals.
Does irrigation hurt that as well? Was that sort of
Yes, in fact, irrigation, a lot of irrigation going on at the moment, of course, and if we do get a warm day, we create a humid environment, and that puts lots of pressure, different sorts of pressure on different crops. And the vegetable crops, it puts a lot of pressure on things like sclerotinia and downy mildew. We're seeing them starting to emerge, and that's been man-induced through irrigation, basically. So you need to be aware of what's happening in your field and what you're doing and what you're potentially fixing and what you're potentially causing.
For every action, there's a reaction, as they say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. White clover.
White clover looking very, very good around the place. I've never seen it look so good, albeit we hope that those bees are not camped out at home in the hive, that it's not too cold for them, they get out and do their thing. But white clover generally is looking very, very good, and the commodity price for huia is around about $6 a kilo, and that's pretty good for a high dollar. And we haven't seen huia that high for a long time, and there's a lot of farmers have sold forward at that sort of money. So that's a bright thing. It is, albeit that the area of huia has shrunk dramatically from where it was, and is now just virtually a minor part of the white clover production.
Country roads.
Country roads. Yes, I get lots of complaints from farmers and neighbours about how people drive through stock on the roads, and how they don't take any notice of flashing lights. They think that once upon a time a flashing light was very, very rare. Now they're very, very common, and people have got very, very complacent about what they mean. And if a farmer's on the side of the road with a flashing light, he's generally got stock that's going to move out onto the road, whether it be sheep driven by a dog or cattle, perhaps dairy cattle, a little more orderly and organised and used to it. But it's a sign that there's some imminent danger around there. And I would like to see people, and we can just about hear farmers talking, oh, look at that idiot, must be a townie, the way they drive through stock, or don't respect the flashing lights, because there's some real damage and some real hurt that can be caused by bad driving in the country.
And I guess when I was a youngster, there seemed to be sheep on the road all the time, but you don't see it very often now, so people haven't been exposed.
Haven't been exposed, but still, I'm actually reading a book on Addington sale yards at the moment. It's quite interesting, and all the droving that went on and the hijinks that occurred, like cows going upstairs inside a house.
Yes, it's a wonderful book.
all those sorts of things.
All those characters.
We don't have that, but we do have farmers who need to shift their stock from one area to another via the public highway. Not necessarily the main state highways, but certainly some of those country roads.
Now, very briefly, the mixing regime for chemicals.
Yes, often today we're looking at putting many chemicals in the water to spray on the paddock all at once to get the timing right and to save those passes. And there's a due process about mixing them. Basically, you start with the water-soluble type powders and granules, move through the emulsifiable concentrates onto the fertilisers and adjuvants and the oil-based products right towards the finish. And that means that you won't end up with a porridge in the tank if you follow that regime.
Good advice, Dennis. Thank you very much, as always. Well, people, more and more of us, in fact, are now starting to deal with China, as in they're exporting or they're doing one-on-one deals. So to help you with the background and to get it easier for you, Aoraki Polytech has got a special relationship now.
Yeah, that's correct. We are very excited to have the Confucius Institute Resource Centre here in South Canterbury, and it's been about 12 months of discussions with the University of Canterbury, with the Confucius Institute authorities, and we have the support of the Chinese consulate in Christchurch. So yeah, it was great to be able to host the new Chinese Consul General to Christchurch when he came to open the resource centre. So yeah, we're very pleased with that.
It's a very practical step as far as Aoraki is concerned.
Absolutely. China, it's one of New Zealand's biggest trade partner, particularly in the area of agriculture. So we are delighted to be able to better meet the needs of our communities by providing, as well as the training that we do with our domestic students. Also, now we have some very strong international linkages that would allow to, as well as the training and education, but a better understanding of each other's culture. And I think that's just really important, that while building that stronger cultural. Sorry, I'm going to have to say that again. I just lost it. But what I was trying to say is that with a better understanding of each other's culture, we are more likely to develop stronger economic ties. We are able to build stronger support between the two countries. And I think this resource centre, is a prime example of that.
Because as a nation, the Chinese have a totally different way of doing business to New Zealanders, for example.
That's correct. Our understanding of the Chinese culture is that the best way of starting a relationship is by building that the trust, the confidence, that understanding of each other, and that's what we've been doing. So last year we visited our sister city in China, Weihai, and we were part of a mayoral delegation to the city. Since then, we've been having regular visits from other Chinese institutions, and we have also reciprocated some of those. So yeah, the relationship is going from strength to strength.
Not just students, you're also working with the business community in Timaru?
Correct, yeah. So our visit to China was part of a delegation. They had local government authorities, the Chamber of the President of the Chamber of Commerce, and also we have some representatives from the farming community here in our region. So since we had had a visit from 2 Chinese universities, and we're delighted that there's already another visit planned for early next year. So the centre provides a focal point for the visits, and we're expecting that the relationship will just continue to grow.
Somebody in the community who wants to do business but isn't a student with China, they can come and get some advice? Absolutely.
We at the centre is very much open to the community, and we have some high schools using the centre. We also aim to provide cultural awareness training, language, and also, as I said, there's a place where people can meet, and with the support of our staff here, get some advice on things that they intended to.
Things like packaging.
Yeah, for example, I think that's an area where we're hoping we will get students involved, helping with the development of new ideas. And that's when I say students, it's not just a student here in New Zealand, but also students in China. The centre, the resource centre, has video conferencing capability. So potentially, high school students from Timaru could work together in a project with high school students in China, and by doing that, will provide us with a better understanding of each other's cultures and markets. We have the Timaru Girls High School have used the centre. They have an agreement with Weihai #1 high school in China. So yeah, there's many topics that are very pertinent to both countries, and as I said, if we can just link the people, then I'm sure great things will come from that. Yeah.
You're holding hands with Lincoln University?
Yeah, Lincoln University is a strategic partner for Aoraki Polytechnic. So we continue to develop programs and linkages together. On Friday, I was able to meet with Tom Lambie, the Chancellor of Lincoln University, and the President of the Songkai University, who was visiting Canterbury, and we met at the Christchurch show, which was a great venue for our discussion. But yeah, so working together again, we believe that we can better meet the needs of our communities.
Exciting times. After the break, we're talking dairying.
Our new companion package is a personalised service for those that need extra help and support. A cost-effective solution for someone who needs more than just a taxi driver. Our drivers are handpicked from our experienced team and specialise in providing the right support and companionship. Home safe every time with Blue Star Taxis.
When we were kids, saving the world seemed like the easiest thing you could do. But the world has changed, and the problems are bigger than we'd ever imagined. People are starving, the environment is under pressure, the climate is changing fast, and we are running out of fresh water. There's so much distraction, it can get hard to see where you can make a difference. With so many other things going on, where do you start? Well, feeding the world gets a little easier when you start by planting the right seed. Protecting the future is possible when you know how and have help. And if we work together to tackle the big challenges, everyone can live well. At Lincoln, we're on a mission to feed the world, protect the future, and help everyone live well. So don't settle for just any future. Join us and make a difference.
At NCRE, there is no job too big or too tough. We can take care of all your air conditioning, heating and electrical needs. NCRE, we'll get you sorted.
Potholes. To some, a simple hole in the ground, causing no harm and no concern. But don't let that fool you. Potholes are dangerous. Did you know potholes have been linked to numerous nasty falls and flat tires? So if you have a pothole situation on your property, don't panic. Call the Pothole Repair Company. They'll fix your potholes in a jiffy. So next time you see a pothole on your driveway or in your car park, call the Pothole Repair Company.
Welcome to Caltex Redwood. We're a family-owned business proudly supporting our local community. We're open 24/7 for fuel and shop goods, and we have an amazing team of people ready to help you. Save at least 6 cents per litre using AA Smart Fuel cards. We also offer great value on our LPG bottle fills. We have a full workshop and Bridgestone Tyre Centre. Our mechanics and tyre technicians will get your car sorted. Caltex Redwood. We're just down from St Bede's on Main North Road. Caltex Redwood. What drives you?
Jumpstart your career in the primary industries at Aoraki Polytechnic. Qualify with a New Zealand diploma in agribusiness management. Study on your farm, for your farm on a project-based method. Aoraki also offers Level 2 and 3 agriculture, Level 3 horticulture and epiculture for those interested in the beekeeping industry. So enrol today and get hands-on experience at Aoraki.
Welcome back to Rob's Country. Well, dairy farmers are very, very dedicated people, and none less so than Liam Kelly, who I caught up with. He's now farming in Mid-Canterbury, having been climbing up the ladder, as it were.
I just coming up 12 years, been involved, so I started in Canterbury. I farmed up there for 8 years and then did a season down in Glennyboy, Temuka in South Island, to my current position where I am in the 3rd season.
So you've been here, this is your 3rd season in Mid-Canterbury?
Yes, yeah.
800 cows, and obviously you've got some young stock as well on the property.
Yeah, so we're 800 cows. We try to rear 25% replacements, which is generally 200 young stock, but we take what we get. So at the moment we're running 270 heifer rearers. We're looking at doing another conversion next season, so going forward that's where they'll come in.
Another conversion in Mid-Canterbury?
Yeah, just on the south of the Rangitata Bridge.
There's not much land left, Liam.
No. So the owner is the same current owner. He had that block leased out, so we've taken possession of that back over in September. We're looking to milk cows next season.
Must be pretty exciting to start from scratch with a conversion and be part of the whole thing.
Oh, definitely. So when I first turned up here 2.5 years ago, she was pretty clean slate. So everything's brand new, from the fences to the water system, shed. It's quite exciting bringing that all together. So from now on, we high expectations of everything being in place, which is easy to maintain.
And of course the other thing is water. I mean, that can be a huge asset, but it must be a pain in the neck as well. Yeah, you have the old irrigation or irritation side of things, but it's brilliant. Without it, we couldn't do what we do here. If you see dry land to what we gain, it's phenomenal. So this farm definitely requires water, and without it, production would be well down. So how much time and effort do you have to put into it, because you've got staff obviously?
Yeah, so me personally, I'm in the normal milking system and roster, so I do it as required. Generally try to encourage other guys to take responsibility of it. But for us, we've got our pivot, which we maintain with programs. We've got the VRI system, so we can allocate water to different areas. So that's sort of my role with the computer system, and also my second man in charge, Ryan. So we'll identify that, and then we have 30 hectares of K-line, which is up to around an hour and a half a day, just to maintain it. And it's not as straightforward. We're a little bit short for water here. A lot of Canterbury farms we have 5 mils a day. We have 4 mils a day, so we've got to alter our corners a bit and just juggle the water around to make sure we apply it where it's required.
Can you keep up?
We do get a little bit tight. At the moment we've had a few struggles. We've got to make the pivot bounce due to a few silos that need to come down, but going forward we're in the process now of all that coming down, and the pivot will be able to do a 360 degree turn, and our efficiency. We're hoping for an increase of 30% in efficiency increase there, to identify the areas in January when we struggle a little bit for water to keep up.
Of course, the new block, you're going to have to start all over again down there as well.
Yeah, so that'll be the new challenge. It's just put all the plannings in place, so it's a matter of bringing it all together.
Pasture renewal, because if you're taking over a block, you've got an ideal opportunity for pasture renewal.
Yes. So that's probably one thing we regret with this conversion. We left a 40% of the farm in established pasture, which wasn't dairy pasture, and we paid for that. So at the moment we've had a big focus on getting 100% new pasture, dairy pasture for here. So going forward, the new conversion will be 100% new grass. First year, it'll take a while to establish, but going forward it'll be brilliant. So we'll put a little bit of showgun in there for 3-year pastures and get our crop rotation going, which will probably be fodder beet as a tool, and then use the new pasture coming in to make sure that we keep our system down. Utilisation of grass is our number one key for us.
Interesting you mentioned fodder beet, because boy is that becoming fashionable now.
Yeah, she's everywhere. The demand for fodder beet in mid-Canterbury, you had to book it in, and you'd struggle to get it now if you haven't already booked that in. So she's high demand, and it's good. It's a great opportunity for dairy farmers to improve our systems.
So where to from here? Obviously you're not going to move on if you're doing another conversion.
No, well, for me it's important to continue growing equity, but also be challenged. After converting a farm, you've sort of trained yourself to be continually challenged, and you get a bit restless if it's too easy to a certain extent.
Don't tell me you get bored, Liam.
I could possibly, yeah. So I need to keep growing. But for me, my goals, it's to get in a position where I can oversee multiple farms. So the decisions I make now in my career will be all for that end goal.
Tell me a bit about your educational background, because you won't have got there without a bit of education behind you.
No, so Ag ITO has played a big role in my life. I only did 2 years of high school study, and I broke my hip and couldn't play rugby, so I was quite a frustrated little boy at school. So due to the fact that I was very young, I had to enrol in Ag ITO, primary ITO, to leave school at such a young age. And from there I did level 2 to 5 with the modern apprentice, and then continued on to the national diploma. So it's even though a lot of people would shake their head at only 2 years of high school, but education's not lacking for me now.
It's interesting, isn't it, that the dairy industry in particular is just grabbing every opportunity to get an educational background in the industry.
Yeah. So it's general knowledge that there's a tough job market out there, with the lack of 50-50s or whatever you choose to do. So for me, the education was important to have a point of difference, and primary ITO with the national diploma gave me that. A lot of farmers look at it as a great commitment. You've gained it while working, so it definitely puts you in the pole to be interviewed for the position that you are looking to take on.
I mean, if it's between you and somebody else and they don't have it, buddy, you're in, aren't you?
Yeah, I see it that way. Just the commitment side of things and the knowledge you gain, and even if you took away the national diploma side of things, I think the knowledge that you'd speak would gain you that job as well. So it's a great qualification to have on paper, but also the knowledge that you'll gain to talk with farmers and learn from farmers is the key. So the key areas that I've taken from it.
The old saying, knowledge is power, and it's very, very, very true. After the break, it's how to get what you want without having to pay that much money.
Avoid the monkeys when it comes to relocating. Trust A1 Movers, a family business since 1993 that guarantees a professional job every time. We carefully handle and wrap your valued items, ensuring they have a safe journey. Secure storage and insurance options are also available.
A1 Movers, the careful, caring, moving company. Oi!
Come on down to Ferrymead Golf. Care for a game of paintball? How about some swings on the old driving range? Or on our par 3 9-hole golf course? Test your skills on the mini golf course or have a go at the airgun shooting range. Then relax at the Wow Cafe with one of our super succulent Wow Burgers. Whether you want to perfect your swing or are looking for a fun family day out, come down to Ferrymead Golf, 50 Ferrymead Park Drive, right next to the Ferrymead Heritage Park.
Jumpstart your career in the primary industries at Aoraki Polytechnic. Qualify with a New Zealand diploma in agribusiness management. Study on your farm, for your farm on a project-based method. Aoraki also offers Level 2 and 3 agriculture, Level 3 horticulture and epiculture for those interested in the beekeeping industry. So enrol today and get hands-on experience at Aoraki.
Shock factor to wow factor, Canter Colour Fun is here to change your world. From interior to exterior and everything in between, Kath has the skills and the knowledge to brighten up your home. Contact Canter Colour Fun for your consultation.
When we were kids, saving the world seemed like the easiest thing you could do. But the world has changed, and the problems are bigger than we'd ever imagined. People are starving, the environment is under pressure, the climate is changing fast, and we are running out of fresh water. There's so much distraction, it can get hard to see where you can make a difference. With so many other things going on, where do you start? Well, feeding the world gets a little easier when you start by planting the right seed. Protecting the future is possible when you know how and have help. And if we work together to tackle the big challenges, everyone can live well. At Lincoln, we're on a mission to feed the world, protect the future, and help everyone live well. So don't settle for just any future. Join us and make a difference.
Welcome back to Rob's Country. Things are getting tight, so every penny counts. What's the easiest way of getting the gear you really need?
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, the time of year and with sort of the forecasting, there's a little bit of, I suppose, inward thinking about where you're going to spend your money and how you're going to spend your money, and of course, radios can be a reasonable expense, I suppose, when you compare it to
relay to stations and.
If you're going to go down that track, but just some of the, you know, just getting the hardware, the portables and the mobiles and installation into the vehicles and tractors and so on. So we've got a very good system at TL Parker. We've partnered with Flexi Rent Finance Solutions. We have done for a wee while now. Basically, we can offer the farming community finance packages, whether it be an operating lease, where you effectively rent the product, or a lease to own, where you will take ownership of the product after you've made the final payment. And what it does is it spreads those payments out quite considerably. We can stretch it from up to 60 months if need be, and just frees up that cash for the farmer to spend on other costs, the farm costs at that time.
Well, people lease their cars, they lease their utes, why not?
Absolutely. And leasing's, there's a lot of advantages to leasing, the tax rebates, the deductibility, no stress with product if it needs to be replaced. You know, there's a whole lot of.
You end up with the latest gear every few years.
Yes, if you're running the operating lease system, you're renting it. So once that lease is terminated, we'll give you the latest stuff. So you're never stuck with sort of the older technology, if that's what you need to do, or you can lease to own it and you'll take ownership of it. So we do a lot of that, and for small and very large companies.
Makes it easy.
Makes it very, very easy. And like I say, it just frees up the cash, and if you want to spend it on mum's Christmas present.
Or debt reduction.
Yes, exactly, debt reduction. So we've got a very good system in place, and all they need to do is give us a call, and we can structure a plan that suits them today, that going forward, that's not going to put any stress on them, if that's the way they want to work their new radios into their farming operation.
Now, Dennis Carter was speaking earlier in the program about flashing lights in stock. Now that's another area that you look at?
Yes, we do. We do quite a bit of that. We're involved quite heavily in the not only just the farming community, but the logging industry, forestry, and roading and heavy maintenance and construction. So we do a lot of strobe lights. Now, farmers today have got the same health and safety and occupational health regulations as every other company. So it's something that farmers need to think about when they're moving stock from just across the road or down the road, whether it be sheep or cattle. The ideal situation is to have a light on the back of the quad bike or the ute. We can supply all of that. We've got fantastic strobes, whether it be magnetic strobes, you can just stick them on the top of the cab, or a pole mount for a back of a quad bike, and we can even do hand ones. But it's important that motorists know that there is something coming up down the road.
And tractors, of course.
Yeah, well, tractors moving, yes, exactly. Tillers, there's all sorts of, heavy machinery moving around farms on public roads nowadays. So strobe lights, warning lights are definitely a must. In fact, it's a legal requirement.
So it's easy enough to fit them sort of after they've been, what is it called, aftermarket or something you guys call it, don't you?
Yes, aftermarket. We do that a lot with radios. So, for example, we deal with a company quite a lot of Drum and Etheridge, and they'll ring us up and we'll install radios before the farmer takes possession of his brand new tractor. But we can do it aftermarket, so we can come onto the farm, we can install the lights if that's what they need to. Quite often it's a DIY, so plug it into the cigarette lighter or onto the battery and away you go. But we can certainly help with all of the installation requirements. And obviously we don't want to compromise the warranty of a new vehicle.
So by doing that, if somebody does try to do it themselves, there's probably a question mark over the whole thing.
Well, that's the thing. You've got to be really careful these days. The old days of getting under the bonnet and changing the spark plugs are pretty much gone now. Things it's moved on. If you start messing around with electrical components in new vehicles, it can void warranties and do all sorts of crazy things.
You try to find a spark plug on a modern car.
I haven't found one on mine. I'm pretty sure it's not actually running on petrol. I haven't worked out what it is. But so it's something that we're very careful and very special. We have a specialist team of technicians who are trained and go out to farms and forestry and logging on site and do all these tricky installations.
Good. What percentage of people are starting to lease now? Is it getting bigger and bigger?
It's getting bigger, yeah, and it's not necessarily because of any negative situation financially or fiduciarily. The reality is some people just want to free up that cash. They want to say, well, okay, I have a bunch of cash or a bit of money I could spend on that particular thing, but I want to divert it into there. I'll lease it or rent it. So leasing is the most popular thing. So at the end of that lease term, they can take ownership of it.
Tell me a wee bit more about these radios and the translators and all that sort of stuff, because you're getting into some pretty interesting country.
Yeah, we are. Look, we've this new digital network that we've deployed in Canterbury is absolutely phenomenal, and we've just seen it grow and grow and grow. So what it provides the user, the farmer, the farmer's wife, is this amazing audio quality that's just never been seen before. Digital IP connected radio, so you can text to radio. You can take your iPhone or your Samsung away off the farm and go to the Gold Coast and sit on the beach and listen to your radios on the farm in Canterbury. We go to London on holiday. It doesn't matter where you go now. Our radios are completely unbridled. They are connected through the World Wide Web. So no excuse not to know what's going on the farm anymore.
You don't have to be a 10-year-old to work it all out.
No. We have an app now available on Play Store and iTunes. Download the app. Of course, there are costs involved, but the app's free. You don't have to finance that.
But wait, there's more.
Yes, but once that's downloaded, once it's all set up, which we do, that's where we come in. That's our strength. We set it all up for you. That's it. You're connected. But just getting back to the raw guts of what radios are about is talking to your guys on the farm or off the farm. If you're in town picking up stuff, you can still talk back to that farm.
And they can sort of call up and say, look, I forgot to tell you, but we need such and such.
Look, it happens all the time, Rob. We've got guys. I've got one of my farmers who lives in town and he manages 2 farms in Mackay. He's talking to his guys on his days off. He knows exactly what's going on.
Sadly, that's where we're at the moment, Dave, so thank you very much indeed. Now, tanks are something that you don't think anything about until it's not full, so I caught up with Arex Plastics to find out what they're doing as far as their tanks are concerned.
One of the key things about being in the country is you don't have big pipes, and you don't have really big ability for fire trucks to connect into hydrants. We are in a position where, in fact, often in the country, we need to store that water for the inevitable, I guess, at some point, fire, which always comes unexpectedly.
So you've obviously got an outlet at the bottom of the tank, but do you have to have a special one for the fire brigade?
Look, we can put in a couple of options, either a 4-inch one that fire trucks are all designed to connect to, or even 3-inch connections, which often will give enough flow. The key is to have a big vent in the top of the tank that obviously, as we're extracting water from the bottom of it, we need to be able to allow air to go into the tank, so having tank venting is really important. But we can put in a fire reserve, so the tank will never, in normal circumstances, go down very far in terms of your normal use, and it always means that you've got a number of thousands of litres available for the eventual fire, I guess.
So you're assuming that you've got some sort of trickle water at the gate or some such thing?
Yeah, I mean, most lifestyle blocks would often be on a reticulated system. They might have a very small pipe coming in. That means they're only getting 3,000 or 4,000 litres a day, but in fact often you need to store that in a big volume for those purposes.
People who are using rainwater, I guess you could have a reserve tank almost, couldn't you?
Yeah, that's right, Rob. Often we have tanks that we put close to the house that are smaller, sitting underneath the eaves and in those sorts of situations, and then have a large storage where in fact the majority of that rainwater is then being transferred to.
Are people using tanks like this for their irrigation units, like your K-lines?
You have to think about the amount of area that you're doing and how much water supply you've got going into it. But yes, there are a number of situations where from a bore somebody would pump into a storage tank and then pump out through K-line or out through some other system for their household.
You've got a lovely range of colours now, Phil.
Yeah, we've got about 7 colours in that range, and from a manufacturing perspective, it's always entertaining. But whether you want a nice bright green or a nice soft green or beige, we've really got all those options available.
You've come a long way from the Mr. Ford, any colour you want but black.
That's right. However, having said that, we do sell still a lot of black tanks. Polyethylene in black is very effective.
I love the way he said that the different colours in the manufacturing is entertaining. In other words, I'll leave you with that thought. After the break, it's Federated Farmers, and Barry's here to talk bees.
Airtech wastewater treatment systems are the future here now. Easy to use and efficient e-sewage plants are already where the environmentalists are heading. You can relax as new rules come into place. A series of chambers does the work while you reap the benefits. Easy to landscape, they're ideal for new homes or as a replacement for an old septic tank. Airtech wastewater treatment system, your advantage when dealing with grey or black water. See the Arex Plastics website for details or contact Arex Environmental.
When we were kids, saving the world seemed like the easiest thing you could do. But the world has changed, and the problems are bigger than we'd ever imagined. People are starving, the environment is under pressure, the climate is changing fast, and we are running out of fresh water. There's so much distraction, it can get hard to see where you can make a difference. With so many other things going on, where do you start? Well, feeding the world gets a little easier when you start by planting the right seed. Protecting the future is possible when you know how and have help. And if we work together to tackle the big challenges, everyone can live well. At Lincoln, we're on a mission to feed the world, protect the future, and help everyone live well. So don't settle for just any future. Join us and make a difference.
At NCRE, there is no job too big or too tough. we can take care of all your air conditioning, heating and electrical needs. NCRE, we'll get you sorted.
Irrigation is the future for farming in New Zealand, but like any technology, you can't be expected to get the most out of it on your own. Hydro Services is the key to maximising your results. On-farm irrigation management, minimising drainage losses, minimising power usage and maximising efficiency. Soil moisture solutions, soil water holding capacity assessments, resource consent applications and on-farm workshops, all there in the one place. Hydro Services, your one-stop for irrigation management and soil moisture measurement solutions.
Jumpstart your career in the primary industries at Aoraki Polytechnic. Qualify with a New Zealand diploma in agribusiness management. Study on your farm, for your farm on a project-based method. Aoraki also offers Level 2 and 3 agriculture, Level 3 horticulture and epiculture for those interested in the beekeeping industry. So enrol today and get hands-on experience at Aoraki.
Are you having trouble with your old mower or just have too much grass? At Mead Mowers and Chainsaws, with our wide range of Husqvarna mowers, no job is too big or too small. We stock rotary, ride-on, zero turn, out front articulated riders, and robotic order mowers. We have the Husqvarna mower for you. Call in and visit Gavin or Peter at Mead Mowers and Chainsaws.
Welcome back to Rob's Country. Been a good season for you guys?
Yeah, Rob, it's been indifferent yet again. It's been the same as the last couple of years we've had with this up and down weather, so to speak, until now and through the springtime. So we've had hives that we've been taking honey off and processing and stuff, and then we've still had hives in some areas that we've been feeding. So it's a bit ironic to be fair.
Yeah, there's got to be something that you sort out. How do you tell which is which? I mean, do you have to go in and go, gosh, there's no honey, so we put in some sugar?
Yeah, the hives that we've taken the honey off have been in pollination, in the black currants. They've gathered a little bit of that, and around the early brassica crops in a certain area they've gathered a bit, but they certainly haven't gathered as much as they have done in other years, but there's been a little surplus there, so to speak. So, and then in the other areas that we've been basically just feeding flat out to keep them alive because it's been so cold.
And cold, wet, overcast days, they snuggle in.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's just been you get one hot day and then they get out and go crazy, and then you get your 3 or 4 average days, and 2 of those are probably they don't even get out at all. So we just need some warm, consistent weather would be ideal, and it's coming up to pollination time now for radish seed and carrot seed. So we're just busy waiting for that stuff to pop out of the ground, so they just need a bit of heat to bring that on as well. So and there's the radish and carrot seed is a little bit down in area this year, so and there's been a little bit of competition, so to speak, with other beekeepers looking to get in to do some pollination after especially the bad year for production we've had last year.
What about clover? Is that still big?
Yes, yeah, it is. Sort of the seed companies we've talked to during the winter time, they said that the acreage was going to be back this year, but I know around our area, around Ellesmere and up in the mid-Canterbury area, there seems to be a lot around, so which is good to see from our point of view, but we just need the right weather for them to get amongst it, really.
Yeah, so you're probably more susceptible to weather than most.
Yeah, we probably just as much as the farmers, really. I mean, they need the warm days for the bees to get out and to pollinate the clover flower, especially. So, but we also need it to be the ground to be warm enough so it yields, so it produces nectar. So, yeah, it's all swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, it is a wee bit. You're looking at 2 organisations becoming one. How's that going?
Yeah, so we have 2 organisations at the present point in time that only probably have about 20% of the beekeepers as members. It's voluntary at the moment, so they've got a working committee set up, and at the present point in time they've just hired a company to go around basically the industry, all the industry players, and to see what where they see the future and in the beekeeping industry and under one organisation, because we see that that's the way forward. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they come back with, so to speak.
So basically, they're doing the groundwork to see what the ground's like.
Yeah, that's right. So they're going to go and talk to the big companies and the little companies and anywhere from beekeepers to the honey packers and also the exporter, because it's beekeeping. The industry now is very diverse and get their thoughts and feelings of what they think how the industry should run and how we can and fund it.
List.
Yeah. So and because. So this is going to be done by a company, but there's no funding out there to do it at this present point in time. So it's basically just hand the hat round, so to speak, and basically pledge some money to get this job done. So I would certainly urge every beekeeper and any industry that's part of the beekeeping industry to pledge some money, so they can, if they want to do that, they can find the information on our Federated Farmers Bees website.
That's really important, because without that work being done, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, that's right, and I'm very. I don't want to end up in the situation like Fonterra, where the honey prices are very good at the moment, the best they've probably ever been. But I don't want to see what's happened with the milk powder price as it goes downward, and we need to get some one organisation to go forward and to get some funding in place to do so we can do some research and development to keep our honey prices where they are now, because we can't afford to let them lapse. So.
If somebody's getting impatient because they want to be spoken to by the company, can they get hold of Federated Farmers?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. No, they can certainly do that, and we can certainly point them in the right direction of who to talk to. So
because you wouldn't want to be missed out, but for whatever reason.
No, that's right. Especially if you've certainly got some thoughts on where you think it should go, then definitely they can contact the Federated Farmers office, and we can point them in the right direction.
Goody. What's a difference between a hobbyist and somebody who should be under your umbrella?
That's a very... We've talked round in circles about that quite a bit, especially with GIA as well. So, but we feel that everybody needs to be included, because there are hobbyist people out there that probably have some good knowledge and background in other fields that might be able to point us in the right direction as well. So you certainly don't want to discount anybody at this stage, to be fair.
So yes, that was just what I wanted to know. Was know, if you've got a few hives and you're interested, obviously, and you can help because you happen to have a legal background, accounting background.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's definitely helpful.
As it happens, thanks Barry. As it happens, the Federated phone number is coming up on your screen now. I'm Rob Coke-Williams. You've either been watching or you've just missed Rob's Country, but I will be back at the same time next week. Until then, bye now.